Gaius was very worried and very inebriated. The Tuxis put the inhalation mask over his face as he pressed a button on a small rectangular device, breathing in the potent gaseous mixture of trisodium, citrate, and other alkalines. Rubbing his nasal orifice, he looked at his brother and passed him the mask as he looked at the readout on the nebulizer. It was half empty already. "I'm telling you, lads," Gaius said. "There's something going on with that human we helped. Did you see that equipment? You can make anything." "I did see." Lance slurred a bit, after inhaling twice and passing the mask back. The two of them were talking, perhaps not quite quietly, with each other on one of the bars on the orbital ring. It was one of the few places close to Tal V that could serve them their desired poison of choice. As it was their rest rotation, they had gone up to have a good time. At least, that had been the plan. Now they were both quite inebriated and talking about their worries again. Ordering what passed for food in the cheap establishment for them both, Gaius took the mask. "Do you want the clips or the schnaz?" "Clips," came the quick response. "I remember seeing that model," Lass said, "when we worked in human space for that repair shop. Nanoscale." Sending the order through the computer terminal at their booth, Gaius took a long breath in the mask. "I remember. The human was excited. Newest top-of-the-line unit just shipped from Earth," he said. "You didn't get to see those power modulators," Lass said, as the two passed the mask back and forth between them. "Nameplate shanded off, multiple fail shapes, triport test fushes for frequency, amperage of voltage for output." He took a second breath in the mask and passed it back before speaking again. "I looked at those. I really looked. Maximum capacity in the low gigawatt range. That's not Sylvian grade." Gaius agreed. "Did you see that contract she gave the boss? It's perfect. Clearly defined, no wriggle room for loopholes, and that discount? I think she's trying to buy him off." "That's what I told him." The rest of their conversation continued on in much the same way, lamenting on the fact that their boss was trying to work with a heavily modified human that had so much high-end equipment and was offering such a steep discount. It did not look like it would end well. Their conversation soon turned to other things as their food arrived. Having bought another canister for their nebulizer after eating, they left the bar in search of entertainment elsewhere on the orbital ring. Ilthar, after hearing the two Tuxis under his employ complain to him loudly about the human and their reasoning, had decided to heed their advice. Not wanting to be owned by a being of such modifications, he had been talking to his accountant. After much deliberation, he had lowered the 20% discount to a much lower nominal value of 3.5%. The core of the document was left intact, minor changes made to comply with system and GTC laws. Looking it over thrice more, he was satisfied. However, he was still debating on sending the document back to Selena Thomas. Different sorts of thoughts kept racing through his head, namely credits. However, what Gaius and Lads had said made a lot of sense, and made things quite a bit murkier. No one gave that sort of discount. Not without wanting something back. Something big. Hoping that the human female would not have him under her scorn, he sent the document. "I will not be in anyone's pocket," Etgar said to himself in his office. Gops was meeting with one of his debtors. While not exactly dangerous, they were always disappointed at his meagre payments and gifts of pristine quality bulbs. It was enough to get them off his back, as he had not missed any of his payments. However, had barely been able to pay back the loans and principal, he needed to do something fast. He really wanted to pay down his debt enough to make a bet during the next Brawl Ultimate. The two fighters, both Nimians, were taking it extremely personally and simply could not be paid off, as they each had a score to settle. Their egos and desire for revenge simply too great for any amount of credits to handle. Merx had mated with Gero's life partner, and, as revenge, Gero had mated with Merx's mother, and put the recording all over the datanet, in the highest possible resolution, with some kind of professional grade recording device. The last time such a clash had happened, it had been 72 solar rotations ago. In this sort of unsanctioned Bloodsport grudge match, someone was most likely to die or become permanently damaged. It was the kind of fight Gops loved to watch. "How little do you have for us this month?" asked Grindel, the Nimian brickhouse for guard. He was wearing shorts and what passed as a muscle shirt for his people to show off his ridiculous physique. He could have been a fighter if he wanted to, but chose not to. My usual plus a bit extra, Gob said, putting a small case onto the table in the back room they were in. Possibly something more. Grindle opened the case and found the usual amount of credits, but 7 bulbs instead of the usual 4. What are you playing at, old man? Asked York, the Mipot's debtor. I've come across a human that says she'll do basic off-the-books prosthetic work in exchange for Kwani. I know you guys are people that need such work. If you can significantly reduce my debt, I can play off your men as one of my farmhands and get them worked on. That is an interesting proposition, York replied. Why would someone do such expensive work for a cheap plant? Grindle asked York. This human obviously doesn't want money. Tell me, York, do you know why humans and Globty get along so well? They like pranks. That's part of it, yes, York said. It's because Globty are scavengers, so humans are hyper-omnivores. They can eat 84% of each other's cuisine as is, an unheard of percentage. Approximately 15% of what those species can readily ingest is nearly fatal to the galaxy at large. I know for a fact that Globty love the taste of Kwani Bob, so I can extrapolate that this human is much the same. I imagine her palate is quite miserable if she suggested such a thing. How do you know all this? Grindle asked. York simply smiled as he said, I'm just more knowledgeable than most. Gobs, your proposition has merit, and is at least worth looking into. When can we meet this human? This rotation, Gorge replied. I know it's short notice. I can arrange a different time if you want. York thought. No, this will do. Go wait outside somewhere. Grindle will be with another who needs work. Hopefully, for your sake, work gets done. Gops nodded and walked out of the room and released a breath he did not realize he had been holding. Perhaps things were looking up for him, he thought, as he went to wait in his hover truck. Selena woke up to the sound of a recurring alert that was not her alarm. Waking up and checking what her phone was trying to get her to answer, she perked up immediately. It was a vidmail from her mother. She accepted excitedly and listened. Hey, baby girl, it's Mum. If I've calculated right, you should just be settling in, or you'll get this while on the Adantis. Mum sighed, then said, I know when you get this, the whole thing will be over, and I don't think I should even be saying this, but your Uncle Robert has been called to deploy. I don't know where he's going, but he says it'll be easy. Says those Xenos haven't seen humans really fight. Still, I worry for him, you know. He's not been the same since his brother passed. He still blames himself sometimes, that he wasn't able to save you and him. Oh, I know it was almost 30 years ago, but some wounds never really heal. She paused, shaking her head and shifting a bit on her couch, as she recorded using her phone. I keep telling him he needs to retire and settle down with someone nice. I think he actually might be at the end of his contract. He says he's been eyeing a huge patch of land out in one of Proximus' colonies to start a vineyard. We'll see about that, won't we? Do send Robert a vidmail, and don't hesitate to ask me for anything, even money. I'll be sure to send it to you. Bye. A chime toned from her tablet, and in Galactic Common, a computerized voice declared, By accepting and watching this video mail, your account was charged for receiving out-system data. Just then, Selena received a notification saying that her account had been billed. What? I'm billed for receiving data? What kind of cheap data plan do I have? I've never had this. Ugh. Angry, she got up and dressed. Putting on another skirt and her last cadmium shirt, she saw that she would have to go to a laundromat, or its equivalent soon, or buy a washer and dryer. As she was more or less financially broke, it was going to be the laundromat. Thankful that she had a refrigerator now, she was able to take more leeway in what she made to eat, instead of having to try to use everything she opened or cut up all at once. So far, the only thing in her refrigerator was the bottle of Trapani. Finishing her breakfast, once more of something akin to grits, she grumbled as she was unable to wash the dishes, having run out of dish soap as she tried to do so. Then she realised that she needed to buy more dishes as all the ones she had were dirty and could not yet be washed. With yet more grumbling at seeing that her printer needed a few more hours, she gave up her laptop, backpack, various connecting cables, then went to schedule a ride to the farmer's market where she met that mid-boss with the Kwani bulbs. She was hoping to do a quick job to get something approximating real food. It took some time to find his store, but she knew she was getting close by the more run-down buildings she passed. After nearly 10 minutes, she almost gave up hope but found him. One Kwani bulb, please, she said to him. And did you finally talk to people? Glips nodded. Yes, I did. Do you need to go somewhere, or is here fine? I can do it here, Selena said, but I might need to plug my computer into your truck's power supply. That's fine. Q is already there, waiting. With another nod, Selina went to the back of the truck and saw the skinniest, tallest, lankiest midpots she had yet laid eyes on. It was clear that both of his legs were prosthetic, from his mid-thigh all the way down. They looked cheap. Bulky and blocky, nothing smooth nor organic looking, all hard lines and dark metal. At the very least, she supposed they were quite durable. "Alright, let's get your legs tuned up. Where's your access ports?" she asked, as she started to get her computer ready. "Already?" he asked, feigning shock. "We just met and you want to see my access ports? I'm not that kind of man." "Oh, ha ha," Selina said deadpan. "Do you want me to retune your legs or not?" she asked in a bit of annoyance. "Yes, ma'am," Wicku said. "They're here and here," he said, opening up 2 protected ports. "Alright, let's see what you're working with." As the data compiled on Selina's laptop, she frowned at the readouts. "Lots of aftermarket parts and work done, huh?" "Yeah, had to, really." "Ion boosters? Really? That's hardly standard." "But not illegal." Yes, I know. I made sure I knew what modifications were legal and which weren't. Your specs are barely legal, and your firewall was lawfully easy to bypass. Your power cells are woefully inadequate, the kinesthetic systems are terrible. The only thing good I have to say about your legs is that their design and force absorption are decent. You won't be trusting yourself in the landing is what I mean. Alright, let's get this mess straightened out and recalibrated. You'll probably have to relearn how to walk again after I retune your systems. It's going to be a while, so be quiet and let me work. With that, Selina tuned out the midpods and set to work returning and optimizing the software for the man's legs. It took 4 hours, and she always had to use the hover truck's onboard power cell, but she was lucky and did not need to. I had to do extensive software modifications and patches as well as hardware settings adjustments. For your kind of build, you need to know where your legs are and know your acceleration and balance. I retooled your interface to fast-track those kind of sensations. You won't be feeling much from them besides pressure, so you don't break something delicate with a careless step. You'll also have improved balance in the air, assuming your power cells last. Those really suck. Well, I'm done here. One more thing. Don't try to jump or fly without relearning how to walk and run. You might kill yourself. Packing up all of her things and leaving the truck bed, she turned to Glips. He's fixed. Make sure he doesn't fly before he can walk and run. Now, about those bulbs. Finally home, after making a stop to get dishware and soap, she started to make something she could actually find to be okay rather than not bad. Soon, her home was flooded with the scent of something spicy for the first time, as she made a kind of spicy vegetable stew again. Having already brought vegetables and having some in the fridge, now all this needs is some meat. I need to find those lizard men and I can have a proper meal. Cleaning up everything and going down to her workshop, she saw that the prosthetic was done. All that was left was vigorous testing and a chrome casing. Having already checked her modifications, the chrome material would arrive sometime next rotation. Setting up the prosthetic to a testing program, she let it run, and then went to go take a bath. She would have to wait a bit longer to service her own prosthetics, as she needed the job complete first, but it was no issue for the moment. Relaxing in the bath and trying to find something to watch in the datanet that did not involve payment, she spoke aloud to no one in particular. Things are really starting to look up, I think. She hoped she did not jinx it. She probably did.